Hey everybody, it's Pastor Jeremy. We are talking about technology and media today, and I've got somebody really, really awesome that has some really great thoughts. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Eva. I am one of the leaders at Next Gen Ministry, and I'm in grade 11 and I go to FHS.
So grade 11 at FHS, you must be interacting with technology an awful lot this year with all of the ups and downs.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
What kind of things have you been kind of interacting with, like for school and stuff?
Well, just like the Teams app mostly. Just like communicating with teachers and going on calls for classes. A lot of that, really.
A lot of that.
A lot of that.
How has your relationship with technology and with media, how has that changed or shifted, the good, the bad, the ugly, through a pandemic? What's that been like for you?
Well, I found that through the pandemic, I've become more conscious and more aware of just how much time I'm spending, especially on social media, just because we have extra time now on our hands. So, we'll go and grab our phone and look through social media, and we're just becoming more aware of how much we're spending on it, I think. So I've been trying to spend less time on social media and try to do other things like pick up a book or go for a walk, do other things. And then for stuff like the news, I try not to go on the news that much either, because it's so filled with stuff like COVID, and I'm so tired of hearing about COVID.
Yeah, it's like you can feel when 2:30 hits. You don't even need to know you. I love it. What's one thing that you wish your parents knew about technology and about media, or what's one thing that you wish your parents knew about you and how you interact with technology and media?
Well, I find that with all my parents or older people, they kind of hate on our generation, especially just with social media and how we're on it all the time. And I kind of wish they knew that social media isn't always negative. There is some positives to it. And I thought of a C.S. Lewis quote actually, and it's, if a thing is free to be good, it's also free to be bad. And so I think that it's about intentionality, really. What is your intentions with the social media? Is it good intentions or bad intentions? And I kind of wish that older people would realize that it's not always negative. And I know that you're not supposed to be on it all the time and stuff. You should be doing other things. But I think we should be focusing less on how much time we're spending on it and kind of what we're doing with that time that we're on it. You know what I mean? And kind of just do more positive things with it instead. Especially with COVID right now, there's just, social media is pretty negative, and the news and just a lot of technology and stuff. So I think it's just important that we spend time doing positive things with it, because I think that, God kind of intended that for good too. It's kind of just what we do with it. Because social media isn't necessarily bad. I think it's just what we do with it. Yeah.
Girl, breaking out the C.S. Lewis. I love it. That's so good. Yeah, I love that. I think, if something's free to be good, it's also free to be bad. Yeah. I think there's a lot of intentionality, like you were saying, behind that. It's okay, how are we going to use this? How are we going to steward this thing? I think that's really, really wise. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Last question for you. What are some boundaries, or what are some things that you try to keep in mind when you're using technology or interacting with technology, or when you're interacting with social media, or when you're watching a movie or a show or something? What are some of the things there that you're kind of these are the guardrails?
Well, when I'm they're not boundaries, but they're more questions that I've been trying to ask myself. So I do try to ask myself, what is my intentionality with this? Is it to do something good or positive with it? Will it be beneficial in the long run, or is it going to be negative? And you know what I mean? And then the other question I ask is, who is influencing me? Especially with social media, I like to ask that. And what the kind of stuff I'm watching, and if it's influencing me in a positive way or a negative way. So I try to set those questions there for me, and that kind of helps me determine my boundaries when I'm using social media. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Eva, thank you so much. Like this has been incredible. This is like a power-packed couple minutes here. Thank you for taking the time. You are awesome.
Thank you for having me.